So everyone says inflation drives gold, right? But that's not the full story. The truth is, government bonds are hiding a secret in plain sight, but not many people know about it. And that's what I'm going to tell you in this video and more. Inside every yield is a hidden message about inflation, and that hidden number is called the real yield. And this is actually what really drives gold. Let me show you in this video how all this works and why traders watch it like a hawk. So when you look up a government bond, you'll see something like the 10-year treasury yield is 4.5% as an example. That's what you call the nominal yield. It's the flashy headline number. But here's the secret that most people don't realize. That number isn't just one thing. It's actually really two numbers glued together. The real yield plus the market's expected inflation. That's really important, so I'll repeat that. It is the real yield plus the market's expected inflation. As I always say, it's really important to understand not just what the market is doing, but what the market thinks is going to happen. In other words, the nominal yield equals the real yield plus the market's expected inflation, factored into the price. It's actually really clever because it means the bond yield secretly tells you what the market thinks inflation will be in the future. So what's a real yield in practice? It's simply the bond yield after you subtract inflation expectations. But even better, there's actually a market instrument that tells us this already. You've probably heard about this. It's called TIPS, which stands for Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. Their yield is basically the real yield. When you hear people talk about the 10-year real yield, they're usually pointing to the 10-year TIPS yield. So anyway, here's where gold sort of comes in more to the picture. As you know, gold doesn't pay any interest whatsoever, although it's a really beautiful shiny metal. So the only competition, and you've got to think from the perspective of a big institution as well, not just a retail investor, because big institutions love government bonds. They think, would they rather hold a government bond that pays a yield, or would they rather buy gold? Obviously you can do both, but I'm just trying to simplify this. If real yields are high, the bonds are winning in this so-called tug of war. Bonds are more appealing. You, as an investor, get paid to sit there and take in the yields, and therefore gold struggles in theory. I'll get back to that in a second, but if the real yields are low or even negative, which has happened in some countries before, so you actually lose money holding them. If that ever happens and bonds yields are so low, bonds therefore lose their appeal, and therefore gold shines brightly as ever. So if everyone's being blown around in a tornado and gold is like a giant house that's not moving, you can understand why gold is seen historically as a safe haven asset. That's why you'll often see gold prices soar when real yields fall. I want to point out an example from 2022 just to illustrate how it's a little bit more complicated than this. I'm trying to simplify it all to educate, but it's a lot more. Many factors come into play. In 2022, real yields spiked by a massive 2.5%. And in theory, you would expect gold to not do very well, right? However, central bank buying kept it afloat. This is proof that real yields are very important, but not the only driver of gold prices. I really want to hammer that in because people look at like indicators and people don't understand there's a lot of factors behind the play of a price of an asset. And you have to really understand the asset that you're trading or investing in before doing it. The best part about all this that I'm saying is you can actually track this relatively easily. All you have to look up is the 10-year TIPS yield. If that line is trending down, it's a pretty good sign for gold. And if it's trending up, well, that's less of a good sign for gold. So next time you hear someone say, oh, inflation is what drives gold, you can sit there and say, well, actually, no, it's the real yields that really matter. And you'll look so damn clever, all because you watched my channel and subscribed. Thank you.